All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Always ready to dig into some fascinating material.
Well, today we're going to tackle a topic that I think is pretty universal.
Yeah.
Love and money. And you know what? It's funny because the stuff you sent in for us to look at today it's such an interesting mix.
It is.
We've got this really philosophical piece. It's called, get this, it's called Egrafeis Tortoi,
Okay.
which I found out means untitled document.
Okay, sure.
And then we've got this other piece which explores kind of similar themes, but through, get this, through childhood experiences.
Interesting.
So I'm really curious to see like where this is gonna go, you know?
Yeah.
Because our love and money, like best friends forever, or
Right.
they always, kind of fight.
Yeah. Locked in the eternal struggle.
Exactly.
Right. I think it is really interesting how these sources, even though they're coming at it from these totally different angles,
Yeah.
they both really make us think about this really fundamental tension between these two forces. And I think you're right. That title, Grafarash to Toe,
It's a mouthful.
it's a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
But it really just, it throws down a philosophical gauntlet, right? It's
Yep.
like love and money, best friends or worst enemies. And that's the question, right? Like, can these two things even exist together?
Well, and I think even the fact that it's a question,
Right.
like the title itself is a question, I think immediately gets us thinking, right?
Totally.
Because when we think about it, love, typically when we think about love, we're thinking about intrinsic value.
Right.
Like the inherent worth we find in like relationships or experiences. But then you've got money. And money often represents extrinsic value.
Yes. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like those external rewards of the stuff that we have.
It's that external validation. And I think that's really where that potential for conflict comes in, because you have this sort of intrinsic versus extrinsic value. And the piece, it almost seems like it's suggesting that if you focus too much on one,
Yeah.
the other one might suffer.
You know what? That's actually a perfect segue, because
Yeah.
the other piece that we were talking about, the one that uses these childhood experiences,
Yes.
like I think it's so clever.
Yeah.
The way that it approaches this really complicated idea,
Yeah.
because it takes stuff that we can all relate to, right? Like as kids, wanting the newest toy,
Totally.
or like, oh man, that ice cream looks amazing.
Oh, the best. Yeah.
And it uses those to kind of show us this relationship between love and money.
Yeah. I think what I really like about how this piece talks about it is it really gets at the pitfalls of putting extrinsic value above intrinsic value.
Okay.
It's almost like if you're just focused on the money, right? Without thinking about the rest of it, like the
Yeah.
deeper values, it's like you just end up feeling empty.
Yeah.
Like that kid who thinks that if they just have all the toys, then they'll be happy.
It's so true. It makes me think of that saying, he who dies with the most toys wins.
Right, exactly.
But we know better than that now, right?
Right, we hope so, right?
Right.
As adults.
Right, as grown-ups.
Yeah.
It's not about the stuff.
It really isn't.
But you're right. This piece is playful. It uses these fun examples.
Yeah.
But it's getting in something much deeper,
Yeah.
right? It's making us ask ourselves, like, what's actually important?
What really matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it about just getting more and more and more?
Or is it about something else?
Or is it about, is it about connection? Is it about experiences?
Yeah.
But, okay, here's the thing.
Okay.
The piece doesn't say that money is bad.
Right.
Right. In fact, it actually points out that money can be really powerful.
It is a tool. Right.
Yeah, it's a tool.
It can be used for good or for not so good.
Right. Like, we need it for the basics.
Yes.
But it also lets us do things, experience things,
Absolutely.
and we can use it to, like, show people we love them.
Yes.
Right.
Gifts, generosity.
Generosity, exactly.
It's a way to share what we have.
And I think that is where the philosophical piece and this more playful piece, I think that's where they kind of, like, come together.
They intersect. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, money can't buy you love,
No.
but it can be a way to, to do something loving for somebody, to be
Exactly.
generous. It kind of bridges that gap between, like, the material stuff and like, our emotions.
Yeah. I love that.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting about the childhood piece
Yeah.
is how it talks about quality over quantity.
Oh, that's such a good point.
And not just with stuff, but like with friends, with experiences, with everything.
Yes, and I think that's such a good point to remember, right?
Right.
Because it's not about having the most friends
Right.
or the most money or the most toys.
It's about the quality of those.
It's about the quality of those relationships.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I think that's such a good thing for all of us to remember
Yes.
as we're, navigating this whole love and money thing as adults.
Yeah. It's about finding that balance.
Yes.
Right.
Balance, that's the key word.
Yeah.
Like, we need to appreciate both,
Yes.
right? We need to
Right.
appreciate the things that money can bring,
Yeah.
but also not lose sight of the things that are,
Things that are priceless.
the priceless things. Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
I'm really curious. What really stood out to you from all of this?
I think the biggest thing for me is, and I'd love to hear what our listeners think about this too. How can we take what we talked about today, this back and forth, this push and pull, and actually use it?
Yeah.
How can really understanding the connection between love and money, how can that change the choices that we make?
That's a great question.
How can it change our relationships? And I don't think there's an easy answer, but it's definitely something worth thinking about.
It is. It's something to really sit with.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this deep dive. Who knew that love and money could be so fascinating?
Right. And maybe, just maybe, true wealth is about finding that perfect harmony between the love we share and how much we value those material things.
Something to think about. Until next time.
See you then.